The NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament, often referred to as March Madness, is one of the most exciting and storied events in college basketball. Here's a detailed breakdown of the tournament's history and its cultural significance. History of the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament. Origins 1939. The NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament began in 1939 with a modest field of 8 teams. It was conceived by NCAA Secretary-Treasurer and basketball promoter Harold Olson. The first tournament took place in Evanston, Illinois, and was won by the Oregon Ducks. Oregon defeated Ohio State in the final to become the first-ever national champion. Initially, the tournament was held at a time when college basketball was still in its infancy compared to other major sports like football and baseball. However, over the years, the tournament grew in popularity and importance. Expansion and growth, 1940s, 1960s. By 1951, the tournament expanded to 16 teams, and it was becoming clear that the NCAA tournament was here to stay as one of the most significant events in American sports. In the 1960s, the tournament continued to grow, with the field expanding further to 22 teams in 1961. By the mid-1960s, the tournament was starting to be broadcast on television, greatly increasing its national profile. The 1960s also saw the emergence of historically dominant teams such as the UCLA Bruins, coached by John Wooden, who would dominate college basketball in the following decades. Expansion to 64 teams, 1985. One of the most significant changes in the tournament's history came in 1985 when the tournament field expanded to 64 teams. This was also when the famous first 4 games were introduced, though they did not gain prominence until much later. The 1985 tournament featured one of the biggest upsets in tournament history when Villanova, a number 8 seed, won the championship in one of the most surprising finals, defeating the heavily favored Georgetown Hoyas. The Madness era. As the tournament expanded and television coverage grew, March Madness became an annual cultural event. The term March Madness was popularized in the 1980s and 1990s, encapsulating the excitement and unpredictability of the tournament. The tournament's format includes 64 teams, expanded to 68 teams in 2011, which are divided into 4 regions, each with a top seed and seeded teams. Teams are placed in a single elimination bracket, and the eventual champion is determined through a series of rounds, including the first 4, round of 64, round of 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, and the national championship game. The tournament has gained national attention, with fans filling out brackets and participating in office pools, making it one of the most watched sporting events in the United States. Memorable moments and dominant teams. Over the decades, UCLA has been the most dominant team in the history of the NCAA tournament, with 11 championships under legendary coach John Wooden. Their streak from 1967 to 1973, in which they won 7 consecutive titles, remains a remarkable feat. Other historically significant teams include North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, and Indiana. Each of these programs has multiple championships and has helped define the landscape of college basketball. One of the most legendary moments in the tournament's history was the shot by Christian Laettner of Duke, who hit a buzzer beater against Kentucky in the 1992 Elite Eight. Cinderella stories like NC State, 1983, and Villanova, 1985, have created some of the most unforgettable upsets in tournament history, cementing the event's reputation for producing thrilling surprises. March Madness and cultural impact. March Madness has become a major part of American culture, with millions of fans participating in bracket pools, watching games, and celebrating the tournament. The Final Four weekend, especially, has become a celebration of college basketball. The tournament is not only a showcase for college basketball but also for the next generation of NBA stars. Players like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Tim Duncan all played in the tournament before entering the NBA and making their marks in professional basketball. Recent developments, 2000s, present. In the 2000s, the NCAA men's basketball tournament has continued to evolve, with further innovations in broadcasting and marketing. The addition of the first four in Dayton, Ohio, which features the four lowest-ranked teams in the field, has added even more excitement to the tournament. The one-and-done rule, which requires players to spend at least 1 year in college before entering the NBA draft, has had a significant impact on the tournament's competitiveness, as high-profile NBA prospects often appear in the tournament for only 1 season before moving to the professional ranks. Upsets and Cinderella teams continue to capture the imagination of fans. The 2018 tournament, for example, saw the Loyola Chicago Ramblers make an unexpected run to the Final Four as an 11th seed, and their march captivated the nation. UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, made history in 2018 as the first-ever 16th seed to defeat a first seed, Virginia, in the tournament's history. The future. The NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament remains one of the biggest sporting events in the United States, with millions of fans filling out brackets and watching the games every year. With increased TV coverage, digital streaming options, and the growing presence of college basketball across social media, the tournament continues to grow in scope and significance. Tournament structure. First four. The first 4 games featuring the lowest-seeded teams to determine the final 64. Round of 64. The first round, where the tournament begins to see the traditional matchups. Round of 32. The second round, where teams continue to battle for a spot in the Sweet 16. Sweet 16. The final 16 teams that advance to the next round. Elite 8. The final 8 teams fighting for a Final Four spot. Final Four. The last 4 teams remaining in the tournament. National Championship Game. The final game that determines the national champion. Notable records and achievements. UCLA, 11 championships, the most by any school. Most tournament appearances. North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky are among the teams with the most appearances. Most championships in a single year. UCLA's 7 consecutive titles, 1967 to 1973. Cinderella stories. Teams like NC State, 1983, Villanova, 1985, and Loyola Chicago, 2018, have made huge upsets in tournament history. The NCAA men's basketball tournament has become more than just a sports event. It's a phenomenon that shapes the fabric of American sports culture. Whether you're a casual fan or a diehard college basketball enthusiast, March Madness is a time of excitement, suspense, and unforgettable moments.